Coming up in this episode of Southern Newsweek, possibly the biggest barge ever built in Bluff is rolled out to the port. A bakery in Winton makes its leftover food available for needy people, and a convoy of electric cars makes its way across New Zealand. Hello, I'm Melissa Barton. Bluff Engineering and Welding rolled out the biggest barge ever built in Bluff last week, and they trucked it right through to the Bluff port. Sharon Rees reports.
After months of construction, this massive barge rolled out of the Bluff Engineering and Welding workshop today. The harvest barge, constructed for Sanford to use at its Stewart Island salmon farm, is believed to be the biggest ever constructed in the seaside town.
This is the biggest barge, and we believe the biggest thing that's ever been built in Bluff. It's 24 metres long by nearly 12 metres wide. It's nearly 80 tonnes, and Bluff Engineering is the biggest thing they've ever built. This is a huge job. This has taken nearly all their staff for about 3 months solid now, plus other peripheral work and plus other local contractors.
Just to get the barge from the workshop to the port is a massive job in itself, with the company having to work around the port schedule and to ensure the railway is clear for the move.
It's a huge job, yeah. There's a lot going on. We have to stop the trains and get a traffic management plan and remove the gatehouse and the fences and coordinate with the port, who've been excellent. And yeah, it's a big job. It's not just getting the truck and drive it over.
The move of the barge caused quite a stir in Bluff this morning, with local school children and Bluff workers on the street to check it out. Bugh said before the barge hits the water, it will be fitted with the latest technology to follow industry best practices.
The salmon stunner that we fitted here will be one of the first in New Zealand, and it's an electronic stunner. It's a big investment by the company in new technology that makes the process better. It's better for fish welfare, it's more efficient and better for the environment.
He said the entire construction of the barge was done by local businesses and contractors, which in turn has given back to the Bluff community. The barge will be lowered into Bluff Harbour tomorrow and is expected to make its maiden voyage to Stewart Island by mid-April. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
The Winton Bakery in Southland has begun giving away its unsold baked goods that would normally go in the pig bin. Sharon Rees reports.
These are treats too good to be thrown out. But until recently, that's exactly what was happening come closing time at the Winton Bakery. A strict food plan means the bakery doesn't sell any item made the previous day, which saw a lot of food go to waste. Owner Jeannie Peebles knew something had to change.
I had parents that were brought up through the Depression, so we never wasted anything, and I'm severe in my businesses on wastages. So what we do is each night after 5 o'clock, my girls from the bakery pop over with the cream buns and some scones and some yummy sandwiches, and they put in the cupboard and in the fridge.
With the support of the Salvation Army Family Store, Peebles installed a fridge and cupboard at the back of the bakery. She says the food is there for anyone in the community.
The whole community, if you're hungry or just whatever, if you need some food. And people say to me, what happens if people take it that don't need it? And I said, we're not to judge. We don't know who's wealthy and who's not, and they may be taking it for other families. It doesn't matter. It's being shared.
She said members of the community have already begun donating their own food to the cause.
With the general public, that's been happening already. People have put veggies in there. The community garden have donated vegetables, and it's so exciting. And I was here the other night and a lovely lady was putting pumpkins in and taking some of our cream buns from the bakery. So it's working really well. Everything just disappears.
Peebles said she wants the initiative to be driven by the community, and people are welcome to give and take food as they please. She says she hopes to see other Winton businesses get on board. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
The group of electric cars driving the length of New Zealand called in at Dunedin recently. The South Today met up with the travellers.
The Leading the Charge convoy parked up in Dunedin's Octagon this morning. The 6 electric cars are making their way from Bluff to Cape Reinga for the 4th year running. Greg Trounson is part of the convoy, and his Tesla S can travel 400 kilometres on a single charge. so getting to Ashburton tonight is not a problem. Some of the other cars may need a top-up during their scheduled stops in Oamaru and Timaru.
It's a good thing to stop every few hours on your journey anyway, and there'll be a lunchtime stop somewhere. So wherever we stop for lunch, we do it where there's a charger nearby. We plug in, we go to lunch, and we come back and we unplug and we go. So we just top up where we can on the way so that it doesn't become a drama.
Local electric car enthusiast Pam McKinlay has organised for quite a few other vehicles to join this morning's display. The aim is to get non-electric car drivers behind the wheel.
Part of what this journey is about is to meet locals and especially people who don't own EVs to arouse their curiosity to see what's going on, to bring them into a conversation and to educate about what EVs do and how good they are, because some of the initial expectation is that EVs can't be any good. Can they, really? But actually, they're super good. They're way better than petrol car, and so that emerges in the conversation.
The convoy intends to reach Ashburton tonight for a well-earned rest and to recharge their batteries. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Waimati's iconic grain silos are about to become more outstanding with the addition of 4 new giant murals. A large artist is adorning the large cylinders with images of significant regional events. The South Today went to have a look.
The concrete grain silos at Transport Waimati's Queen Street yard have towered over the rural town since 1934. But never have they looked quite like this. The 30-metre by 8-metre grain silos have become canvases for Waimati painter Bill Scott. Scott and Transport Waimati owner Barry Sadler picked 4 images that capture some of the New Zealand famous people who made Waimati home. The first painting represents a key moment in the early history of the region.
It represents the first meeting between Michael Studham, our original European settler, and the local Maori community, who was led by Te Huruhuru, a Maori chief, and this basically represents him in his heyday.
Scott started painting this week, and it remains to be seen what the other paintings will become. Jack Conroy, The South Today.
Still to come after the break, dashcam footage reveals shocking behaviour of a Dunedin driver, and thousands of people take part in the Invercargill Surf to City event. Welcome back. A Dunedin motorist has captured footage of a bad driving on city streets. The video includes a bag of rubbish being thrown from a car window, followed by a foul-mouthed tirade.
This dashcam footage shows a white Toyota Corolla holding up traffic in Dunedin's Crawford Street on February the 22nd. As the car drives off, a passenger hurls a bag of rubbish at a passing car. Our driver takes the opportunity to pull up beside the white Toyota Corolla and remonstrates with the litter bug. This is met with a tirade of abuse, and our driver later commented the passenger did not sound stable at all.
It's everything in here. You would have a problem. What? You would have a problem. You would have a problem.
When the lights change, the Corolla swerves in front of straight-ahead traffic, crossing 2 lanes and speeds off. The driver who captured the video reported the incident to the police the same day using the Community Roadwatch form. Police said they are attempting to locate the offending driver. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Hundreds of adults and children marched the Lumsden streets in protest last weekend. The large group voiced their anger at the proposal to downgrade the Lumsden Maternity Centre. Mina Amso reports.
Out in force, hundreds of people marched in Lumsden last weekend to voice their anger over the possible downgrading to the town's maternity centre. The march was led by the centre's midwife Sarah Stokes and Clutha Southland MP Hamish Walker.
My question is to the PM Jacinda Ardern, if she's in labour, baby on its way, then having to travel the distance between Morrinsville and Auckland, 130 kilometres, the same distance a mother in Te Anau will have to travel.
The change means the maternity centre would look after women before and after pregnancy only, and mothers in labour would face a 2-hour drive from places like Te Anau to get to Southland Hospital in Invercargill to give birth. Stokes says this may force women in labour to give birth on the side of the road. The proposed downgrade is part of a Southern maternity system of care shake-up by the Southern District Health Board. The Southern District Health Board says the proposal offers flexibility in that maternal and child hubs could be scaled up to become primary birthing units if birth numbers and workforce availability change. But Northern Southland Health Company chairwoman Kerry Smith says closing the facility will mean losing it forever.
As Te Anau and Queenstown grow, we are already seeing young families relocate to places like Lumsden because of the housing crisis. This is a good thing.
3,500 people have already signed the petition to keep the maternity centre as it is. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Since we filmed that story, the Southern District Health Board has said they are reviewing their decision to downgrade the Lumsden Centre. Thousands of Southlanders headed to Oreti Beach last weekend to participate in the city's annual Surf to City. The event offered a range of distances for participants to bike, walk or run. Sharon Rees has more.
It was a huge effort from around 3,500 Southlanders on Sunday participating in the Invercargill City Council's Surf to City. The 12-kilometre run from Oreti Beach was a favourite for cyclists this year, while some of the younger participants preferred the 6 and 3-kilometre distances. Organisers said the day ran smoothly, with the weather being a big contributing factor.
Oh, it's gone absolutely fantastic. We've got about 3,500 people from the community right around Southland here today, and given the weather at the start of the week, great to have such an awesome day today.
Invercargill City Councillor Ian Pottinger was one of 71 council staff members to participate, and while he was definitely feeling it after his 12-kilometre run, he said the accomplishment was well worth it.
You really understand why Surf to City is the way to do it. Finishing in the park is amazing. Coming up that straight feels so good. Mind you, that finishing line seems a long way away.
There were some red faces crossing the finish line, but McDermott said participants seemed to be pleased with their own efforts.
I've been on the finish line and just seeing everyone come along with their sense of achievement, whether it be kids, older people, it's been awesome.
Participants celebrated their success at the finish line in Queen's Park, with some spot prizes putting a smile on some young faces. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, protesters bring the issue of cow manure to Environment Southland's front door, and Dunedin's Peter Chanel school pupils spend a night living in cardboard boxes. Welcome back. Members of the Otago Southland Save Our Water campaign caused a bit of a stink at Invercargill's Environment Southland office this week. Southland resident Matt Coffey decided to highlight water quality issues by delivering them straight to Environment Southland's doorstep. Sharon Rees has more.
This pile of cow manure made its way from the Upper Matoda River to the front door of Environment Southland this morning. After becoming fed up with seeing cows on the riverbed, Southland resident Matt Coffey decided to dump the issue right under councillors' noses.
It's all been collected out of the Mataura River in the Upper Mataura, where the cows are freely roaming on the riverbed. We're trying to bring more attention to this and let the councillors know that we're not going to let it lie.
Coffey is a member of the Southland Save Our Water campaign and says Environment Southland hasn't kept its promise to clean the region's waterways.
They promised by the year 2020 that they'd have a 10% improvement in water quality. This is only less than 2 years away, and we haven't seen an improvement. In fact, we've actually seen deterioration.
Environment Southland Chairman Nickel Horrell told the protesters he understood their concerns and that the Southland Water and Land Plan will address such issues.
Water quality is our our main issue that we're dealing with. We've got a water and land plan that's going to be notified on the 4th of April, which sets a platform to help deal with some of the issues that this group are actually concerned about.
He said while the amount of manure collected was surprising, he was happy to address the concerns of Southland residents.
We're always delighted to have people come and talk to us about water quality. People have their right to self-expression. We've got a group here who are passionate about water quality, and I'm here to represent all of Southland. We take an oath to do that.
The protesters said they would remain outside of the council building until around lunchtime, and when they left, they wouldn't be taking the manure with them. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Following on from our story last week about New Zealand workers getting a bad name with some Queenstown businesses, Queenstown reporter Mina Amso spoke with industry professionals about their thoughts on the matter.
Last week, The South Today reported that 2 Queenstown business managers were concerned about hiring New Zealand workers. They detailed incidents of theft, poor work ethics and unreliability. Queenstown Resort College Chief Executive Charlie Phillips says he hasn't heard of any such incidents, but believes the issues mentioned by the businesses would relate to only 1% of New Zealand workers.
I certainly don't think it's doom and gloom out there.
Chris Buckley owns and operates 2 local restaurant bars in Queenstown. He's also a board member of trade organisation Hospitality New Zealand. He says he's lucky his 8 long-term New Zealand staff have been good.
My wife and I run this business and we make sure we're there all the time. So I think people get used to us and they find that quite comfortable. They can come and talk to us and we're very hands-on bosses, so I think that makes a bit of a change. But it's something you're always working at. You're trying to find new ways of keeping people and keeping things exciting.
Buckley and Phillips say hospitality attracts 2 kinds of workers, those looking for a career and seasonal workers.
And I think that we don't want to cloud one with the other.
So would paying more attract more or better hospitality workers?
I don't think there's one simple answer. There's so many small, medium enterprises within the sector that it's impossible to come in with one master plan and say this is what you have to do. Generally, the market sorts it out. If higher pay solved the problem, then I'm sure people would pay more.
It's a hard one, and it would be great to offer more, but there are outside pressures.
Phillips says there are many training options, but the key issue is attracting New Zealand school students to a career in hospitality.
Tourism within schools isn't a university entrance subject. Actually turns a lot of the kids who actually would enjoy tourism or hospitality as a career into another vocational profession.
He says having politicians holding tourism portfolios has helped put tourism on the map. The Queenstown Resort College profiles opportunities in the hospitality and tourism sector by working with school teachers, principals and career advisors. However, Phillips says more work to promote the industry is needed. Mina Amso, The South Today.
A local school took a break from treat food last weekend to raise money for the poor in Timor-Leste. The pupils at Dunedin St Peter Chanel School slept in cardboard boxes and ate only rice and water from 3 p.m. Friday to 9 a.m. Saturday.
A group of Year 4 students at St Peter Chanel School in Dunedin have been learning what it's like to go poor and hungry. As well as sleeping in cardboard boxes, eating only rice and drinking only water, they used a 20-litre water container for cleaning, drinking and cooking. Director of Religious Studies Pessamino Tilly says the exercise gives the children greater perspective about the lives of the poor in Timor-Leste.
We've been learning about solidarity, particularly those who are marginalised, not just those that are people that are here in our country, but with those overseas.
Principal Claire Peters says the money raised is going towards a women's group called Hafoti.
Yes, they're raising money for an organisation that desperately needs that funding, but for us it's really for the children to get that deeper understanding and that whole feeling of being part of something that is a nationwide event too, that there's people all over the country that will be doing this over the next month or two. But for our children, I think it's that understanding, that solidarity of what it might be like for these families and these people living in these conditions.
Hafoti assists women to gain skills and find employment. Roselle Labone, The South Today.
In the depths of central Otago, in the heart of the Pairau Valley, lies Lammermoor Station and a new distillery which is ready to produce whisky and gin. It's been a dream for John and Susan Elliott for years, and they finally opened up their Lammermoor distillery last weekend.
At this present time, the Lammermoor Distillery is the newest in the South Island, as it opened with a gala event over the weekend. Co-proprietor John Elliott is pleased to have the premises open for trade.
It's a great very pleased of course that it's finally come to fruition, and good to have a good crowd here today and enjoy the occasion, and very pleasing.
The Elliott family has worked the land on the Lammermoor range for generations, and there has been a distillery on the property before, as whisky was produced illegally in the mid-1800s. However, Elliott's pleased the legitimate business is focusing on a distinctly New Zealand flavour.
To produce good single malt whisky, a little bit more boutique and more about quality rather than quantity, and a real New Zealand flavour. Quite a lot of Manuka smoked whisky we're working on, Manuka smoked barley, which has got that New Zealand feel about it, which hopefully at this stage things are looking really promising.
Gin is also being produced at the plant, which has been 2 years in the construction so far. Elliott says it's still not completed, but ready enough to start brewing and to invite people in. The Elliots hope the gin will be available for sale in 2 or 3 months, but John Elliott says it will take at least 2 years for the whisky to be ready. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
A 110-strong fleet of vintage cars converged on Greymouth last weekend. Many American and English-made vehicles were on display for an eager public when they weren't cruising around the West Coast.
Members of the West Coast Vintage Car Club met this weekend at the Civic Centre before heading out en masse for the Scenic Land Coal Trail Rally. 2 groups aimed for Blaketown and 2 other teams of drivers headed for Cobden. West Coast Vintage Car Club President Alan Giles says after completing trials in Blaketown, the 2 groups also headed over the Cobden Bridge. West Coast Vintage Car Club President Alan Giles says after completing trials in Blaketown, those 2 groups also headed over the Cobden Bridge. Giles says drivers went to Blackball to take in trade union and mining history, and then onto the Reefton Racecourse around 2 p.m. for a gymkhana. He says the rally ended with a dinner at Shantytown for the 197 drivers and crew. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
And finally, dog handlers have sailed back from Antipodes Island, declaring the area now free of mice. This follows the $1 million mouse eradication campaign that raised funds in 2012 in an effort to return the island to its natural state. The South Today went on board to find out more.
Back from windswept Antipodes Island, located far south of New Zealand's mainland, is the sailing ship Evoe. On board are the Department of Conservation dog handlers who have just come back from a trip to confirm that Antipodes Island is now mouse-free. The $1 million mouse eradication project was funded in part by the public and exterminated mice with poison baits back in 2016. But project manager Stephen Horn says the enterprise couldn't be called a success until this year's survey with specially trained dogs confirmed that no mice had survived.
Because mice are so hard to detect at low density, so in order to have the level of confidence that we have, we waited for effectively 2 mouse breeding seasons so that if there were any survivors, they would have rebounded to numbers that are in the realms of detectability. And so this follow-up work has proven that. But yeah, it's really tough when you put all this work in. A lot of people gave their money back in 2012, waiting for something to happen, and then we say, hey, we have to wait for another couple of years before we can say whether it succeeded or not. It's a really long wait.
Mice are not traditionally viewed as predators, but recent video evidence shows they do attack and kill seabird chicks. Because mice have a personal territory that's only about 20 metres in radius, every nook and cranny of the island had to be checked, which was no easy feat.
The dogs and the dog handlers roamed the place, and it was pretty tough going, and some of the tall grass and the ferns that are above head height, and everyone sort of looks at a plateau of tussock and thinks, oh, that looks like a doddle to walk through there, but actually you're standing on pedestals about 1 metre high and effectively swimming across the tops in places, so it's a reasonable challenge, and they did a great job covering that whole place, and we're very confident that we've got to the point that it's successful.
Other islands around the world have equally been plagued by mice, but hopefully not for much longer.
Internationally, the RSPB are looking at Gulf Island in the South Atlantic, which is an important seabird island. It's only got mice, and the mice are busy preying on the seabirds and causing a lot of damage out there. So they're planning to eradicate mice in 2019 winter. And then Marion Island, which is a huge island, 29,000 hectares, also in the South Atlantic, they're looking at an operation in about 2020.
One of the next projects is hopefully eradicating mice from the main island of the Auckland Island group, an area 23 times the size of Antipodes Island. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
That's all from us this week. You can go online and check us out on Facebook, or you can keep up with Southern Newsweek via our website, YouTube and channel 39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton, and thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.